Oh, what a beautiful morning in southern Wisconsin. Hope you're feeling it too, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's gloomy, it's rainy, but it has brought the cooler temps. It is August 16th, 2022. Welcome aboard, everyone. This is the Crushing Iron podcast. You're listening to episode 608.
Sure is, man.
608 had a listen. I just want to say welcome to all
608,
of the
that's my area code here. I knew something was going on there.
608.
Yeah.
Well, I mean 608's only three. It's only three numbers. Oh, it's your area code. That's your zip code. 608.
I knew it. I've been away so long I forgot. Just repping from the 608, man.
God, yeah. Hashtag 608. Down with the 608, Mike Tarrolly. I hope you're having an amazing week. Welcome to all of our new, we'll talk about our Facebook group in a minute, but had a lot of new listeners lately, and a lot of new people coming into our Facebook group. So welcome. We always enjoy expanding our amazing community of people, which is one of the main reasons why we do this podcast. But again, just wanted to welcome everyone and just say we appreciate you. We get a lot of emails and Facebook messages and stuff like that, and we do our best to get to most of them, if not all of them, at least in a timely manner, and just let you guys know that we appreciate you just as much as you say you appreciate us. So it's awesome. We love what we do. If it's your first time tuning in, like I said, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a few options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. Your time is very valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We will do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We'll do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life as human beings on this planet, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. We'll also talk a lot about what our own athletes are going through. Mike and I both work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level athletes looking to do their very first sprint or even a 5K, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to Kona, and everyone in between. And we'll use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, phone calls to drive the topic of the day. We also go into our Facebook group that I mentioned before. You can search that if you want to be part of the conversation, the community's Crushing Iron group. Answer one simple question. Let's right in. Amazing people, awesome group, especially the last few days. It's been great to see. We've got a lot of seasoned veterans in there that have won races, former professionals, Kona qualifiers, and beginners. It's been really awesome to see. I think in the last week, just in over the weekend, people doing their very first triathlon ever, at all different kinds of ages, and it's just exciting to see how the growth of the sport. And it's just a great reminder that you're never too old to get into it. And so it's really awesome. It's a great community, tons of really meaningful support as well, and just a lot of knowledge and wisdom in there. So be a part of it. You can lurk if you like, but it's always better if you participate, because we all have something to offer. So, but be a part of that. We'll go in there frequently, or at least once a month, and do a Q&A. But that's it. We don't do sponsors. We don't do ads, but we do have an agenda, and that's to do our best to help keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah, we got a lot of people coming in. It must be race season, man. People out there just, I got to get my shit together. Let me go in that Crushing Iron group and learn some stuff. But for real, it's kind of getting to that point, right, where I guess everybody's looking for a little bit of motivation at anywhere they can get it. You know, I was at Boca del Vista yesterday, and
again, man, you're like a frequent flyer over there, dude.
I went in and get this, man. I got in the pool, and on my left was Rob, a buddy who I was in the club for a long time. And I was like, whoa. And then on the other side was this guy named Arlo. They both done Wisconsin, and they were both getting done with their swims. I'm like, oh man, that's kind of motivating. We talked for a little while, and then I just went after it. And it was nice. Kind of, my age group, not the, older sect, even though I'm older. But hey, speaking of people coming in and getting back to emails. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, hold on. But your age bracket, you are the young age bracket there, right?
Who, me? Oh, there? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you're at Boca Vista, like you are the creme de la creme. Like you're the millennials of Boca. Like you're the millennial version in the age group at that place, correct?
I told you I'm a little bit like Kramer when he moved down there for that time and he ran for president or whatever. That I will not be doing. I do not want to be president of anything. But no, back to you mentioned something about emails and getting back to them and stuff, and sometimes they slip away. And there's a guy who emailed me. He told me he went back and read every single blog post I ever had and how much it kind of inspired him and got him going for a race. And I meant to reply to it, and then I keep thinking about it, and I keep looking for it, but I can't find the email. So if you're out there, man, I really appreciate it, and I'm still looking for the reply.
Find it. Yeah, if not, just email them back again. We'll get to it. Yeah, it's yeah, we do our best to get back to it, but like I said, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. But
I know.
We strive to do our best.
That's true. I we do try to do our best, I think.
Speaking of our best,
let's whine.
What'd you say?
I said, let's whine a little bit.
Let's whine. No, we're not whining. I don't do the whining part.
I know.
And plus, no one really cares and no one's listening. They just let you talk out loud and then move on to the next topic, right. Which is kind of what we do with this podcast as well. But I thought it'd be a great time to talk a little bit about, over the weekend. I went off the grid a little bit last week to kind of enjoy the last week of summer. And it was blazing hot, but then there was a few mornings where it was a little crisp in the air, and we're getting rain here this morning. Looks like some of the cool things off a little bit, and then kind of going through training peaks over the weekend, but also even this morning had a lot of people, especially in the Midwest and like up where you are, talking a little bit about what we've been mentioning for, I don't know, the last 2, 3, 4 months. Seasonal EPO is either just arriving or is starting to kind of sprinkle itself in already here in August. What we mean by that is, and I think we referenced back in one of the more popular podcasts about heat acclimation and how to appropriately tackle heat training. And that's when you train in the heat and the humidity and the dew point, basically what we're all forced to do. Okay, in the summer, like it's not we're special. It's everyone has to do it, and you got to slow down, but you're reaping mass. These huge benefits, and then the temperature starts to cool off. The dew point goes down, the humidity goes down, and it's not nearly as hot. And you go out one day and you're running, and you're like, man. And this is the comment you usually see, and this is like one of the main feelings that people tend to have is like, man, my lungs felt great. I was kept trying to go and go and go, but my legs just couldn't keep up. Like they were a little bit slow. And that could be from, fatigue. Most of the time, if you're training a lot in the summer anyway, you're training for a big race. It's kind of like you said, we had a bunch of people come into our Facebook group. People are getting pumped, into August, school goes back, at least for Hayden, he's back tomorrow. And I mentioned this in the weekly email on Monday. It's like, on our roster, we've got 10, I think a little, maybe even over 10 full distance Ironman races going to happen between now and November 20th. So basically in the next 3 months, there's a lot of action going on. And so most people have been, and even if you've got 70.3s, you've been putting in the work, right? You've been putting in the summertime training, and you're waiting to see this fitness, and you go out and you go for, a 30, 40, 45 minute run. And you're like, man, the pace drops, the RPE drops, the heart rate's lower. And then you're like, man, I got to, my legs got to keep up. And while it's amazing and it's awesome, even though as a person doing Wisconsin 70.3, I know you're doing the full, I wouldn't mind if the heat held off for maybe a little bit 2 more weeks, just because this is when you start to appreciate, right, all the hard work you've been doing and getting out there and not, taking to the treadmill every single session and taking it to the trainer every single session, but actually getting out. And because, listen, people, a lot of scientific papers have come out and peer-reviewed things have come out, in the last 2 or 3 years, that heat training can be just as good, if not better, in a lot of situations than altitude training. People still do this. They will drive and do camps or go live and train at altitude for weeks and months before big races. Heat is like the poor man's altitude training, and we've all had this opportunity because it's been so freaking hot in most places the last 2 or 3 months. So if you were that person and you got out and you're like, you know what, I know the pace is going to suffer. I know my heart rate's going to be a little bit different, but all I got to do is keep doing the work, and I'll be rewarded handsomely at the end of this training block closer to race day. Well, guess what? You're being rewarded handsomely because the pace is starting to show. You're starting to feel better, even though you're under fatigue. And so, again, I think it's a good time to kind of talk through some of the feelings you might have, but also some of the things you kind of want to be aware of when you're going from, training and even racing, right? Doing sprints, Olympics, maybe some 70.3s to knock off the rust, and you're going to a race where it's going to be a lot cooler. There are things you have to kind of change up about your preparation, especially when it comes to higher pace intensity runs and rides outside, and even kind of going back indoors for swimming. Things are going to feel different. It takes a little bit of time for your body to kind of sync up, right? Just like it takes time for you to kind of sync up your mind with your body when you go from 50s and 60s to boom, that first like killer weekend in May when it's only 80, right? 80 degrees right now is like cool. But we know like Chattanooga 7.3 that we always end up at is kind of famous for like, we got cool weather. Boom, first out weekend, always in May. And you're kind of just like a shock to the system. But now 80s feels like nothing. So a lot of things happen. Usually it's for the good, but they're all things you need to be mindful of if you want to really race your best and take all the work you did in the summer and apply it to your fall race.
Well said, man. Well said. Can I
Thank you.
can I just say, since I've been back in the game and training for the full and everything, I've remembered that training can be hard. And I was telling this to my athletes the other day. It's sort of like, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's not perfect conditions. But that's a good thing. I love, we went up and rode the course this Saturday, and it was actually a little chilly, and it was kind of drizzly, and I was thinking, man, I could use some arm warmers. I actually went, my second loop, I went to the plastic bag under the kit because it was just a little breezy coming down something. Yeah. And this is like August in Wisconsin, but, real windy, and it's kind of, it wasn't like a glorious ride, but man, how does that pay off? I was thinking that's what I try to do is spin myself into this place where it's like, okay, odds are it won't be much. It's almost impossible. I shouldn't say impossible, but the conditions, this is about as bad as they could get, so that's a good thing. And then, how do you get in that mindset where you're thinking, oh man, this, like you were just saying, the stuff that you're doing now, even though it kind of sucks, and, we're triathletes and we always want to have, 3 or 4 cups of coffee and go fast, but sometimes it's nice to just lay back and sip on one. You know what I mean? And that's what I think about when in some of these runs. It's like you go out there and you want to be faster, but there's some kind of I don't know if it's a twisted like pleasure from going slow and just knowing that you're building something up. Sunday we were supposed to. I had a couple hour run on my thing and went for an hour. And it just wasn't happening. And then I got back to Beloit and I was laying around and it was kind of humid out. It was late afternoon, getting dark. And I was just like, I don't really want it, but I did it. I went out and just decided to go easy and just go. I was like, I'm going to go for 30 minutes. And then I went out to this little path by my house here and I got back. It was 30 minutes. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit longer. And I just kept going slow. And it was really, really humid, but I was like, you know what? Nobody's doing this right now. I was kind of like channel my inner Goggins a little bit, like who's crazy enough to do this shit right now? Because I'm like running, and so I started running hill loops, real easy. I wasn't trying to go fast, but I was just chilling up these hills. And every time I came down, there was like it's right by a golf course and there's a parking lot, and there's about 4 golfers just sitting around by their trunk, talking about the round. And I kept going by him, and I kept looking over there, and they were looking at me, and I was like, this guy must be fucking crazy. What is he doing? Like, 12 loops. It's just like drenched. And I don't know about you, man, but sometimes when all that sweat that's like, to me, that is the EPO too. It's like, it just feels so good to have a nice sweat, especially if you don't overdo it. You know what I mean? It's almost like a controlled sweat that's just not forced out of you, and your body doesn't feel trashed. You just feel like, wow, I just got just pump the blood just enough. And so like, I guess my point is, I know it gets hot. I know the dew point's up. I know the humidity's up a lot, but shift your perspective and try to figure out how to win in that race, because it's kind of fun to deal with tough conditions. It makes you better.
Dude, it's Mother Nature's freebie.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you go out and that's a part that I think I have a hard time wrapping my brain around with some athletes. And when you see people consistently, kind of, just complain about the heat and the humidity and the dew point. I get it. Like, there's a time to be over it. And listen, I'm right there with you. I'm ready for hoodie weather and fall football. Okay. That's my favorite time of year. But when it comes to training, and especially if you're doing a race that's going to have cooler temps, you're getting a Mother Nature freebie. And what I mean by that is, all right, you need to go out and it's 65, 70 degrees. You need to go out and do a tempo run. You got to put forth effort, right? You have to consciously decide to increase your turnover, to increase your effort, and force yourself to do it, right? It takes some mental effort to do that, right? Versus go out and run easy in 90-degree heat in a high dew point, okay? All I've got to do is be resilient and make it from point A to point B, all right? Or from minute 1 to minute 60. That's all I got to do, right? The heat, the humidity, dew point, it's going to do the rest. But we continuously complain and bitch and moan about, oh my God, the dew. But I'm like, listen, we got. And like, there's a lot of things where that you said that remind me of a few things. It's one, having that mentality and listen, complaining about it every once in a while is fine. Complaining about it every day, what's going to happen is you're going to be the first thing that you're going to do when you're check the weather, when you wake up on race day, and you're going to let the weather decide the day. Because that's what you're doing right now. The weather's going to decide the day. It's going to decide your attitude. It's going to decide your mood. It's going to decide how well you think you're going to do or how poorly you're guaranteed you're going to do because of the weather. We all get the same stuff on race day. But what you've got to do is, like you said, sometimes you just have to make it through. Like I had, and I mentioned this in my weekly email, I had one of, if not the worst run I've had in probably the last 3 or 4 years on Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that.
I felt, it was people use the word death march. It was borderline a crawl. And I got a later start and kind of looking back, and you and I mentioned this, like, before we went live in our, pre-board meeting, is I knew why it sucked when it was over. And so I knew there was nothing really to make of it, right? It's like, and you don't attach yourself to it. I talked a lot about being, not being a prisoner in the moment, just letting things go. Because Friday had a really awesome interval ride, really, really strong. Ate kind of an early dinner for me, I know, which is like 4:30, and then didn't drink much the rest of the night, which I usually drink a lot of water, and then woke up and then didn't have much breakfast at all, didn't drink nearly as much as I should have because I've been get up like 4:30, and I just kind of slept in and then got up and went out. So I got a late start. It was 85, the humidity was high, and I just didn't prepare well enough. But I started out super slow, and I made not a mistake, but what I try to do when I know it's not going to go great is I do an out and back, because I get to the point to where I'm like, I want to turn around because this sucks. I just make another minute in the other direction, because that 1 minute turns into 2 minutes, right? That 2 minutes turns into 4 minutes. That 3 minutes turns into 6, like, and so on and so on, because I got to come back. So I knew I had an hour and a half on the schedule, so I knew I was going to go 45 out no matter what. And when I hit that 45-minute turnaround, I thought to myself, oh my God, this is going to just suck. And I was so hot. I didn't take enough water. I was overheating. From a 60-minute to the 90-minute mark, all I kept telling myself was, like, man, you know what? Just take some walk breaks, dude. It's fine. Mm-hmm. You're having a bad day. We all have bad days. There's nothing wrong with walk breaks. Just take a walk breaks. And then kind of like, as we discussed, maybe it was our second podcast of last week, the winner on Thursday, I kind of went back to, okay, but you have a race coming up. I'm not going to get a fitness gain, right? And I'm not looking for that. But what I'm looking for is maybe not really toughness, but the resiliency to just keep moving forward and such. No, you're not walking, because on race day, it's going to be super uncomfortable. I'm not hurting myself by running 9:30-minute pace miles. It just sucks, and it's just uncomfortable. And I was like, so I'm not hurting myself, right, by continuing to run, but by walking, I'm kind of giving in, right? And so I was like, you know what, you're going to run to the end. And I made it back to the kind of the split in the trail to go to my car at an hour and 26 minutes. Nice. And my first thought was, dude, 126, still going to be green. I'm good to go. And then I thought, you're defeating the purpose if you stop right now. So I just veered to the left, ran 2 minutes out, and then ran 2 minutes back. And completed at 1:30, and then confidently said to myself, that was the worst run I've had. I mean, I was kind of laughing. It was that bad. And then, like, a short little sidebar to kind of give you a reference of how terrible I felt. I walked over the sidewalk, dropped my handheld that had my phone in it and my keys, dropped it on the ground. It rolled slow-mo down to the drain, like big gaping like hole, not like it was going to stop with like a filter, gaping hole, and slow rolled, and I just kind of stared and watched at it. There was no like urgency, like it wasn't dropping on my stomach to like save the day. I would have had nothing. And I just sat there and just like stared. And I think the world kind of smiled at me. It was like, all right, he's had enough for today. Somebody stop the bottle. And it stopped, like, I'm not kidding you, like 2 inches before it like went down into the oblivion that would have never been seen again. That's how shitty I felt. But I got in the car and I was like, you know what? Yeah, that was a bad run. But that was it. And I just left it. I left it as it was because what else is there to do, right? Like sit on it and whine about it and mope, oh, it's a terrible run. Thought to myself, you're underfueled. You didn't eat enough. It was hot. You weren't prepared. That's what you get. That is what you get, right? So lesson learned. So recover today and get your ass back out tomorrow morning for a bike ride and just let it go. But it was the heat, the humidity, and that was all I was thinking. I was like, you know what? It might not feel great right now, but at least I know I'm getting a good benefit from the heat, and I'm making the decisions to, I don't want to say tough it out or grind it out, but it was you just keep going. You know you can make it, so just make it, right? And I think that, again, going back to what we talked about last week, those small little decisions make such a huge impact when it comes to race day, because a lot of people like to kind of go back in their training Rolodex and look back through their best workouts, right? But a lot of times what you really need is to just go back through those mental victories, right? Where you chose to get out and do a run and it didn't feel good, but you finished, right? Or that you went out in horrible conditions. It was raining outside, but you got your ass out there anyway and did it, because when race day comes, you don't know what's going to get thrown at you, right? You can't perfectly set your thermostat and set up your pain cave, which is, again, like a weird place to call where you work out as your pain cave. Is most people have like the thermostat on 68, a fan that would rival like, one of the ones they put on a 750 jet, and then a refrigerator with all their water bottles cool and like 3 TVs. I'm like, yeah, sounds like a real pain cave to me, man. And but you don't have that, right? On race day, like you get what you get. And the more you can make decisions on putting it, like you said, raining, it was windy, the more you can put yourself in that situation, realize you're getting not just a physical benefit, but you're also getting that mental and I think an emotional benefit of, you know what, I'm just going to get it done to get it done. Because on a race day, that's what's required. You can't opt out, right? You can't wake up and be like, oh, humidity and dew points out. You know what? I'm just going to walk in the restart at noon. The heat will be hotter, but the dew point's going to be lower humidity. I'd rather race than that. You can't do that. Can't wake up and be like, oh man, dude, it's pouring down rain. Nah. Let's see. It's going to clear up around 4 p.m. You know what? I'll start the race at 4. You can't do that, right? So the more and more you let these small inconveniences deter you from the goal, you're opening more doors to find excuses for race day. And like I said, Mother Nature gives us so many opportunities to learn about ourselves, to challenge about ourselves, challenge things about ourselves, because on race day, you never know which is going to deal out. And that's just one of the things that I think we all need a reminder of, myself included.
I got to tell you, man, I'm a little surprised you didn't defer the race after that run. It sounds like you're just ready to, you know what? Screw this race. I'm not ready.
No, it was. I know. Like when I say it was in,
I'm just.
That's
kidding.
Also, I think, like a huge thing. I know you're kidding, but like a huge thing that you and I talk frequently about, and we've been doing this for a long, long time, is to not get so attached to a training session, right? The good or bad. You don't overvalue it. You don't undervalue it. You just value it for what it is, right? At face value. It's not worth more. It's not worth less. Like there is no inflation in triathlon training. It just is what it is, right? And you just let it go. Like you troubleshoot, you recognize, you can kind of be hard on yourself, but you're like, yeah, this is just, it kind of is what it is. And then you wake up and then you remember doing it, but you don't sit on it, right? And you don't go back and and continue to look at how better or worse it was overall, you just get up the next day and you get on your bike and you go ride for 2.5 hours and you get off and run. Then Monday you wake up and you go swim, right? And you go run. Like that's what you do. And it's just, I think we get so hung up on so many things, and this goes with training and in life, that we make the choice, right? Like we make a conscious decision to allow things to stick around, like to allow ourselves to stay in a bad mood, or to allow a bad workout to stick with us for weeks, or a bad race to ruin us for a month, or, you post Ironman blues, or you have a setting point and go your way and you're just in a funk for a month. Like that's your choice. Like you're making a choice, right? The same goes for, you have a great workout and you're like, oh, let me get TriCac back out real quick. Yeah, I thought I was going to do, I thought I was going to do a 245 bike split, but I was feeling it today, baby. So 235, right? And so now for the next 6 weeks, you had one unbelievable day, and you've just kind of set this one day, right? Because it's never really the sum of one day; it's the sum of all the days. But we take that, right, and we stick to it and we live with it instead of just And I think the more and more you're in the sport, it's easier to let things go and just take them for what they are, instead of making things more like into something so much larger than what it really is. And I think triathletes are famous for overcomplicating things and over dramatizing things and making things, way too great. It's like, I couldn't help but laugh, dude. Like I know I'm going way off script here, but I saw that Ironman Wisconsin sold out. And it was like on Facebook, and it's Ironman Wisconsin sold out. First comment: this is such a triathlete move. Okay, congrats. Period. Any word on when the athlete guide will be out? ? And you're like, what? How can it be all about me? Congratulations, you sold out. That's so great. It's awesome for the sport. It's awesome for the event. It'll make sure it's around for a few years. Where's my athlete guide? I got to read it, because you know what? It's going to be the exact same athlete guide you get for every single race, minus about 3% that are small changes like the course maps, and that's it. But it's all about me. Like we always find things like bitch and moan and complain about when you're like, what? Like, enjoy it, let it move on, and go on with the rest. And that's my mini rant today about whining and bitching and moaning.
Ooh, it really sold out?
Yeah, sold out.
The full?
Yeah.
Boy, that just made my heart sink a little bit. I was getting a little bit too lenient with no way that thing's going to sell out. Man, I got in just under the gun.
Yeah, dude, I know.
Dude,
the first person I thought about was like, do I need to double check his QR code, make sure he's really got this registered for this year and it's not a deferral for next year? But
I know,
yeah,
you got
to do just by the hair and your chinny chin chin.
I actually got the email yesterday for check-in time, and I signed up. I was like, I guess I'm in, man. So that's good. Wow, that's so crazy, man. I love what you said there about it's a sum of all the days, because that's really the thing, man. I'm looking back, honestly, at, the whole time, I guess, that I've sort of been training for this race, and I can't think of one day that really made me want to go to TriCalc. It's kind of been a grinder this time. It's been interesting. Yeah. Rode 2 loops up there Saturday. It was a little, like I said, the weather's a little bit janky, but it's way under what I've rode up there as far as average speed. And I'm going to myself, I don't, feel that much different or anything. And so I'm also kind of thinking, how the hell am I going to do that? And should I even try? But but I'm also getting out of my head a little bit, because that whole race, I mean, there is something about race energy up there for sure. And just, I guess the thing of it up there is I need more climbing. I feel like I need a little more climbing, because as you know, there's just, a lot of hills up there. I wouldn't call any of them just overwhelming, but they are relentless. And we used to ride at the Trace a lot. I've had a lot of hill practice in the past, and I kind of just feel a little bit off on the hill, but it really kind of comes down for me. I keep thinking about the mentality of just really chill the hill, but we always talk about, but get over it and get down it. And I think that's really where a lot of people miss out up there, is that they kind of they're relieved. There's so many hills, you just, I got up here and got over it. But the other thing I was thinking about was I was telling you before this, it was a little windy, and I'm pretty comfortable in rain and wind on a bike. I mean, that's just my rough seas to you. So, but even I was a little bit like, yeah, I'm going to break a little bit here because it was, plus I think they probably literally sweep the roads or clean them off. And there's a lot of, just loose gravel and stupid shit like that you don't want to risk. But one of the things I wanted to point out that I remembered halfway through that ride was when you go to, as a guy who used to mountain bike a lot, when you descend on a mountain bike, at least I did, I used to kind of scoot back on the seat, and you kind of just get a better, base that way as far as a descension. And I tend to do that on a tri bike too. But when it's windy like that, you really have to shift your weight forward to keep, weight on the front wheel, because that's the one that blows around all the time. So I was really concentrating on the second loop, and it made a huge difference. Just kind of redistributing my weight out there. And, but yeah, the riding, it's just been kind of more, I don't know, training. I just love that some of all the days, because everybody gets so wrapped up in one day or whatever, but it's like never comparative really, and it's all about whenever, people are talking about swimming and they don't seem like they're 100 times getting faster. I'm like, who gives a shit, man? Just get stronger and get out of that water with less fatigue and all that kind of stuff. Cause a couple minutes here or there, whatever, if your 100 time decreases by 2 seconds right now, is that really gonna, make or break it? Just as long as you're working hard. And I guess that's the thing is, you just kind of got to look for ways to work hard, feel stronger, feel better. All that stuff you're talking about, how you didn't prepare for that run, and just, shit happens, but try to learn from it. And when you're going into a race, make sure you kind of have that dialed in, because it's really more about this mental thing too, man. It's so big for me. I keep talking to people about it all the time. Are you going to be able to do what you did at that turnaround and just suck it up? It's not like, how many people actually get halfway through that marathon in a full or even a half and just feel like, all right, now I'm going to just turn it up. It's more about just really being able to figure it out. And those are the moments that I just love in training. It's sort of like, all right, how am I going to go? I'm going to maybe just do one more hill repeat here, just to do it and feel it a little bit, and you're always looking for that. It's hard to find, it's hard to replicate that feeling late in a run on a half or a full, but sometimes you can kind of feel it, and it's like, all right, there it is. How are you going to deal with it? And for me, it's like all those days, yeah, you have some really good workouts in there and all that kind of stuff, but these ugly days are the ones that you really want to embrace and feel like, okay, this made me stronger mentally more than anything. It's kind of like, it's just like a double run that I did on Sunday. That second one, man, it's just more about getting your shoes on and getting out there and getting through that early pain. And then you're like, okay, once the blood starts flowing a little bit, after a couple miles, you start to feel okay. You got to know that that's there, and you can't forget it.
This is such an amazing sport if you choose to learn from it and stay humble with it, right? Because if you've been in the sport for a long time, you consistently, on maybe a weekly basis, get humbled, right? And I think how you approach triathlon is also do what?
Which is good.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good. Like, I love a phrase, and I say it to Hayden all the time. Like, stay humble, work hard. That's it. Like, and that'll get you so far in life. But one of the most frustrating things you see with athletes, and also like one of the more sad things you see with athletes, is that, again, going back to attaching ourselves to a workout and a success or failure, or only taking like, a bad pace from it. Like, you said a lot of things there about, there's so much to take that is good from ugly training sessions, right? Like, and you can, because not every single part of every single session is going to go great, but there are certain positive things you can take from even the worst sessions, take the best and leave the rest. And that's it. and just move on and apply it. Like, you said, Trent, about like, how terrible this run was and how you're going to, I could be on the race course and like, man, my legs feel like trash. Like I really don't want to keep going, irregardless of speed, right? And pace or what I'm happy with. It's still about pushing ourselves. Right. And so while I felt incredible on last Wednesday, had one of my best, like kind of short tempo runs. I averaged, I think 7:13s. It was everything. I just looked at it while you were talking. It was everything I could do to hold on and end up averaging a 9:34 pace on this long run. A 2 minute and 20-minute difference in pace.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
But when I got done with it, the positive I took from it and I'm taking from it now as we kind of talk through it is, let's say I do feel great on race day. Pain is pain, in my opinion. Being uncomfortable is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable at running 7:20s is just as uncomfortable as being, dehydrated and underfueled and too hot, running 9:30s and barely holding on. Is the exact same? No. But dear God, I would trade running 7:20s for another 20 minutes and feeling good than I would have gone another 5 minutes, barely getting one foot in front of the other. But what I can do now is, like I said, irregardless of how well I'm running, right, on race day, I can take the experience of making myself go 1 foot in front of the other and making it through to get it done. Right. So there are so many good things, again, you can take from even the worst sessions. I got out and got it done. Right. I made it through. Check. Move it to the good box of, all right, I could put that in my pile. Like, there's a phrase where, tough times don't last, but tough people do. When you see athletes get burnt out, when you see athletes quit the sport, when you see athletes get down in the dumps for weeks, or even as a coach, when you see a comment, from an athlete, I'm just so depressed from my workout today. I'm just so distraught. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait one damn second here. You're what? From a workout?
Yeah.
It was a 45-minute run and you're destroyed mentally? Like, what kind of stock did you put in it? Which again, we've been talking about kind of the aftermath, right, of a workout, the good or the bad. Going into a workout and putting that much stock in it. Stop, right? Dollar cost average it, put it out through the whole course of the week. Like, don't put all your life savings into one workout. And then if it's like putting all your chips in on one hand of blackjack, right? It's all luck, right? Especially if you got a really crappy guy playing in front of you. Like, it's all luck. It's all luck. You never know. And so to put so much stock into a workout that it has to go well, it's just the pressure and the enormity of it. You're more than likely, and it's almost gonna be impossible to really see your full potential that day. But there is so much good that you can come from even the worst of workouts if you choose to look at it that way. Same goes for things that happen in life, like you're dealt a bad hand one day or things go bad. All right, how can we turn this around to make into a positive? Right? How can we turn this out? Like, Hayden was just a little disappointed because he thought he was going to have these two of their friends on his baseball team in his class. And I was like, listen, you've already got those friends, right, on your baseball team. So you're now, if they would have been in your class, you're actually down 2 friends because now you get to meet 2 more friends in your class and spend the whole year with. So it's actually a win. He's like, oh, yeah, I like making new friends. Like, instead of just dwelling on these small and oftentimes insanely insignificant in the scheme of life things that we just attach ourselves to and let it run rampant through our brain and our mind and ruin workouts and quality time with people we love and our day. And sometimes even a week or a month. I just can't get out of this funk. Okay. Are you actively, it's kind of like when we talk to people about being injured, from the time you actually have an injury or a niggle or whatever you want to call it, or get hurt, from that point on, you should be recovering, right? You should be proactively recovering because you're either recovering or you're choosing to stay hurt by running harder or being irresponsible or not going to, see a physical therapist or not, whatever it is you do. You make a choice from that moment on. All right, I'm going to recover from this. I'm going to get back. I'm going to start healing, right? Or you can choose to stay hurt, right? Or stay injured. Some people do that. Same thing goes for staying in a funk. Some people choose willfully to stay in a funk. What have you been doing? I just been kind of sitting around.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're feeling worse, right? By day after day after day sitting, right? You're not getting any vitamin D. You're not getting any movement, right? We say movement is medicine a lot. You're not doing any of that, right? To kind of like at least make an effort. You got to make an effort. Listen, the world isn't going to shine its light on you one day and you're going to rise from your alarm clock that you probably didn't set because you're still in a funk, and you're going to wake up and you're going to walk out on your front steps and you're going to say, today is the day. I will take it back. Ain't going to happen. Nope. You got to get your ass out of bed. You got to get off the couch. You got to stop moping around and take it. Like physically, emotionally, mentally, take it, right? Be proactive. Make it happen. And it's just, that has become something that as a society, I think we have struggled mightily with in the last few years, is that we just kind of expect the world to kind of bend itself to our situation. I'm just unlucky and unfortunate. It's just really, no, yeah. Same way for everybody, right? Life isn't easy, right? Everything is hard, right? You have to sometimes just get up and make it happen. Fake it till you make it is a phrase they use a lot of times in AA when you're starting out. Fake it till you make it. Even if you don't really like what you're doing, do it until you can make it to where it means something and to where it actually matters. Then your mindset, everything shifts. Everything. Say it, even if you don't mean it. It's just the establishing a pattern and a routine to do it. And then like one of the big, and you know this better than anybody because you're one of the few people I was talking to when I was in treatment, is one of the things my primary therapist said is like, listen, you're going through a lot right now. I want you to get on your knees. And I wouldn't consider myself that much of a religious person. I feel like I'm fairly spiritual. I was very spiritual then. And he said, get on your knees every night, and I want you to pray. And I want you to whoever, about whatever, and I want you to pray for these specific people, even if you don't want to, even if you don't like them, even if you feel like they're bringing, horrible things into your life. Do that. And I did it for weeks and for months until one day I honestly didn't care anymore. And you know that, like, you and I talked a lot, after I got back out, there were a lot of things that I ended up healing a lot quicker from than you did, from in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas, because I just kind of faked it till it didn't matter anymore. Instead of sitting on things and stewing on things, I'm like, wait, it's like the thing my grandfather says is, don't ever be standing in a doorway, because you're not going from anywhere and you're not coming from anywhere. Do something, right? And that's just something I think as athletes and as people, we have to be more proactive with, is just doing something, consciously doing something, and then taking what you can from a positive aspect. It's not about being overly optimistic or being naive. It's survival, right? And it's pressing forward, and it's not taking no for an answer, and it's called not giving up, and it's called getting off your ass and moving, right? And those are all choices that we make every day.
Now, I really like that, and it kind of ties into what I was thinking as you're talking, was this concept of momentum, and how do you get that? And like that fake it till you make it, to me, is like building a momentum, in a way that's manageable, right? And I talk about mental and physical momentum in this case. And like Sunday, like I said, I went out for that second run, and I said to myself, I'm going to go out to this one point and come back. That's a 20-minute run. It seemed manageable. So like I had to get out of the chair or the couch or wherever and get the shoes on and just decide to do 20 minutes. And a lot of times that's one of my strategies for training, is like, I don't have to do this whole workout, but I'm going to go do part of it. And then once you get out there, then that turned into 30, and then that turned into 45 in an hour. And now when I train for a full, I've always had this thing where I don't, as I don't get too wrapped up in going the distance, and I never do it in running, but like for cycling and swimming, I do it occasionally, and I have, but for me, it's more about getting to a point where certain things seem very manageable. Like for me, it's like 3,000 in the pool. Like if I look at a 3,000, go, yeah, all right, I'm going to go do that, And then sometimes I'll just go further or whatever. But like I train, in other words, I don't train to always be about the distance or whatever. I just want to get to a point where I know that I have the capability of it. And the same goes with riding. And when I get to like 80 miles and that doesn't seem like a big deal, or 4 hours or whatever on the bike, I'm like, all right, well, you know, you can suck that up. Or like when I decide, you know, when I get to a point in training where 10 to 12 miles doesn't seem like a big deal, you know what I mean? Then you know that stuff it's about all the days and the accumulated fatigue and all that sort of thing. And what I've been thinking about a lot too is with my running is this momentum thing, and how like you're making that example of how 5 minutes you'd rather be done in 5 minutes faster or whatever. And I think a lot of times we run in bad momentum. In other words, it hurts more to go slower, but we don't trust picking up our feet. I mean, it only makes sense that if your feet are on the ground a shorter period of time, that it's not going to hurt as much, you know? So I've been really thinking about that as like when I get tired, I'm really trying to figure out a way to kind of lift my legs more and actually stay, for lack of a better term, look like a runner more than a plotter. So that's the kind of thing I keep thinking about. And I know it's not easy, and it just becomes this grind. But like, to me, that's a mental picture that I like to paint more than just like slogging through all the time. You know, like I'm going to go out and run a slow 40-minute run or whatever. But I try to keep it in terms of like, I talk about like with good form, you know, you're going slow. That doesn't mean that you have to just, you know, crunch down on your whole body weight forever every time. You can run slower with good form. And the same goes with like, I thought about that a lot when I was cycling up there. It's like, it's easier to go faster when you have good momentum. So like, if you're always climbing a hill and you're resting and then you're kind of coasting and all this kind of stuff, and then you don't want to take advantage of the downhill, and then you don't get the good advantage of that going into a flat section or whatever it may be, your speed is all about making things easier when you're going, you know, when you're going faster than you think you should be going or could go or whatever. Like, it's there if you want to take it. And certainly in the water, because that's where where I've always struggled with momentum. It's like, I was talking to a kid yesterday. He was like, he had a really great swim. And he goes, yeah, I just was feeling, I was just going. I said, yeah, you were a swimmer. You weren't a 2-stroke guy, or not breaststroke, but tread water, look and make sure you know where the buoys are. You were just swimming with release and flow. And to me, those are the kind of things that really come into play, I think, during a race. It's like, you really have to look for opportunity to create momentum and make things easier. You know, it is easier when you're going faster sometimes than if you're just really grinding away at the pedals and making these slow strokes and sighting all the time. Just release it a little bit and go. And that's really what I've been thinking about a lot in the pool too, is just, you know, going, you know, cause I think, you know, you grew up swimming. You don't think about that. You're just swimming into the horizon. You know, most of us are like, where's that next buoy? You know, like, stop, look, there it is, you know, shit like that. And it's so much harder to get going again. So I think momentum with, you know, manageable training days that can create like a good, you know, streak of green or whatever you want to call it, is so underrated. It's fake it till you make it, and just go do it. Do a little bit, go do something that feels okay. And then we'll see where that ends up.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's that effortless momentum, which again, like going back to what we were kind of mentioning the first part of the podcast, that seasonal EPO. It's like you're, you know, when it's hot outside, you're trying to slow down, right? And it's a lot of times it's uncomfortable to run that slow, right? It's just harder on your body, right? You're landing a different way, you're putting more impact on it. You're not leaning forward, like you said. Your foot is on the ground longer period of time, so it's more it's just more impactful on your body. You're trying, you know, and then you got the other end of the spectrum where you're, you know, where maybe it might be, you know, you get the first little kind of dip of 60 degrees, and you're you're physically trying for your legs to keep up with your heart rate, you know, or to get to where you're like, man, I'm running like zone 3 here. My legs feel like they're in zone 2 because they're so used to running a little bit slower, right? Maybe not adding in enough strides, or, you know, we do a lot of like short especially in the summertime, 15, 20, 30 second, maybe a minute, bursts and pickups, along, midweek runs, even longer runs. You're maintaining, you're keeping speed, but you're also just like maintaining and keeping your run efficiency and economy going, because once the temperature does drop, you still need to be able to snap it, baby. And like you do. And that's when like that perfect momentum comes, where you're not trying to go too fast. You're not trying to go too slow. You're not really trying at all. You're just running, right? Or you're just riding, or you're just swimming. It's that effortless part where it just kind of goes in a flow, and everything, like you said, you're not trying to slow yourself down. You're not forcing yourself to speed up. It just comes, right? And that's, again, one of those things that a lot of people see this time, and you're like, oh, but sorry, coach, I ran too fast today. Says who? Who says you ran too fast today? Like, you were feeling it. I can see it. Your pace was faster. Your heart rate was lower. Did you like, you and I both see that a lot. Sorry, coach, I was feeling it today. Why are you sorry you're feeling it today? Like, what? Like, this is what we've been training to do. This is what you hired us for. This is why you've been training outside in the heat and the humidity the last 3 months, for these 60 to 70 degree days closer to your race date, when you are feeling it. Don't apologize. Run, baby, run. And that, again, that's just one of those things where when you get too wrapped up in the output, right? The metric, the pace. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I might have gone to the gray zone today. You don't even know what the gray zone probably is, but you didn't. You ran today and you did great. That's a good thing, but triathletes, like, they tend to not look at the good thing. They try to find something along the way, along the best run of their lives, but like, yeah. But you see that corner right there? I usually take a corner on Flint and Barton Street, and I usually kind of like cut it real close to the right side. But this today hung it a little bit out wide, and compared to the run I did last week, I lost at least a second there. I'll do better next week, coach. You're like, excuse me? But that is what triathletes do. We find whatever we can with a fine-tooth comb to pick out something that we have to do better on, because it's hard to take compliments. It's hard to feel successful. It's hard to feel like we're actually accomplishing something, because, oh my God, what would that mean? Make points to appreciate what you're doing, right? And find appreciation in both. Appreciation in the shitty days and appreciation of the good days, right? Because the rest of them are just kind of in the middle, where you're kind of apathetic about it. How was your 30-minute run? I mean, it was a 30-minute run. It was kind of just as what it is. Check the box, move on. It's like, that's what it is. You value them all, and they all have value. And you should be able to appreciate all of them along the way. And then especially if, again, like we said to start out, if you've been busting your hump and you've been out there working hard in less than quote unquote ideal conditions the last 3 months, enjoy yourself the next few weeks. And especially, like, once it really turns, it's going to be awesome. And it's already awesome for some people. They're already feeling it and seeing, like, that's when and a lot of people are still under, a tremendous load of fatigue from, being in big builds. Like, soak it up, right? Enjoy Mother Nature's freebie, because what's going to happen is, come November, when I say, hit up a tempo pace, or we're going to run zone 4 for a little bit, or you want your bike, harder, you're like, man, I got to really work hard, higher turnover, higher cadence, more effort, more power. I got to lift the pace. I got to make a conscious effort to do this, versus, May, June, July, August, you're like, all right, run a little bit faster the mailbox. I'll be in zone 4. Check, right? It's like, it takes a whole lot more effort. So enjoy this transition, right? Enjoy it. Don't be sorry for going so fast. Don't be, worried that you overran or overran. This is what you've been working for. Enjoy it and appreciate the good, appreciate the bad, and just don't let them sit with you for too long.
Yeah, I like that. Enjoy the transition. And when I think about this, we are triathletes, but they have transitions for a reason. And I think mentally, this is one of the things we have to remember. When we wake up in the morning, we get in that water, we're swimmers. When we get into T1, we transition into cyclists. And then we get into T2, and then now we're runners. So we're everything, but we have to have that sort of like concept in our head, I think, is that we're free, and belief system is what I'm talking about. It's like, hey, I believe that I'm a swimmer here. I believe that I'm a cyclist. Now I'm in the cycling mindset. I'm going to go let it go and transition into the cycling part, and then get off the bike. And now I'm going to be a runner. And it's just, I just say that because I think a lot of people think about themselves as triathletes, which is true, but we have to believe that we're, free in every single discipline as well.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Free in every single discipline.
Mm-hmm. So
enjoy it, people.
Enjoy it. Yeah. What was it? Seasonal EPO.
Seasonal EPO. School's back in for most of us. Football's around the corner. Man.
Yep.
I mean, it's the best time of year. U.S. Open's about to come on. I'm at some tennis. That's my favorite like weekend or 2-week span of all time. U.S. Open, college football. I watch NFL and you don't, but that's awesome. I mean, I can't wait. I'm ready for Wisconsin. I'm ready to see everybody. It's a great time of year. Things are coming full circle. A lot of you have been in the training and doing the work for a long period of time. So I guess like we said, enjoy it, appreciate it, and seriously, find the enjoyment, right, in everything that you do, right? Because the fact of the matter is that tomorrow you might not be able to do it, right? And like in the nitpicky things that we find, that we criticize, because again, endurance athletes, triathletes, we love to find one thing they didn't do right. You know, it's like, I'm really proud of myself today, period. It's always like, I'm really proud of myself today. Yeah, I did hit snooze on my alarm and I should have gotten up 10 minutes. And you're like, oh my God, here we go again. Like, just appreciate it, right? The certain things, you know, most things are never great and they're never that bad. They're just kind of in the middle. It's our attitude that sways them, you know, way in one direction, away thing, you know, and then in the other direction. Keep that pendulum kind of in the middle. And then I think you'll be surprised how many things you can check off and knock out on your way to, you know, getting prepared for a great race. As always, we love you. We appreciate you tuning in and giving us a listen. Hope this podcast has been helpful. As always, go to our website. Check us out, c26triathlon.com. It's a one-stop shop we have for all things coaching, camps, and community. And like we said at the outset of the podcast, if you're one of those athletes, we've had a lot recently who is now that racing or your big race is getting closer, or feel lost or feel discouraged or feel like you don't really have a lot of direction, click on our coaches tab, find the coaches right for you. We'll help you plan out the rest of your year. And if you need anything from Mike, he's always available, CrushingIron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me, I'm at c26coach@gmail.com.
Okay, buddy, go enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good, dude. See you.
Yeah.